Commander Hyun-woo rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the holographic display again. The coffee in his metal cup had gone cold hours ago, but he couldn't look away from the screen. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The massive monitoring station orbited the edge of HFY territory like a giant metal eye, watching for threats across the darkness of space. For 15 years, Hyun-woo had worked here, tracking pirates, rebels, and the occasional lost cargo ship. He had seen everything the galaxy could throw at them, until today. "Lieutenant Yoonji, run the scan again," he called out, his voice echoing through the command center. The station hummed with activity as dozens of officers monitored their sectors, but something in his tone made nearby heads turn. Yoonji's fingers flew across her control panel, her face glowing blue from the display lights. "Sir, I've run it 12 times. The readings are identical." She paused, chewing her lip nervously. "Whatever this thing is, it's moving at speeds that should be impossible." Hyun-woo walked over to her station, his boots clicking against the metal floor. The data made his stomach clench with worry. According to their sensors, something had crossed 3 star systems in the time it should take to travel between 2 planets. "Show me the trajectory," he ordered. The holographic map expanded, showing the outer rim of their territory. A thin, red line traced the path of the unknown contact, weaving between asteroid fields and gas giants with perfect precision. No known ship could move like that. No known ship would dare. "Sir," Yoonji whispered, "it's like it knows exactly where our patrol routes are. It's avoiding every single one." Before Hyun-woo could respond, his communication panel lit up with incoming messages. First from Station Omega-7, then Station Beta-3, then the fortress at Kepler Point. Each message carried the same impossible news. "Commander, we have a problem," came the voice of Captain Soo-jin from Omega-7. "We've detected an unknown vessel in our sector. Speed readings are off the charts." Hyun-woo felt his blood run cold. "Confirmed contact?" "Confirmed, sir. But here's the strange part. It scanned our station for exactly 37 seconds, then vanished. Our weapon systems couldn't even target it." Similar reports flooded in from the other stations. The mystery ship was everywhere at once, studying their defenses, mapping their territory and disappearing before anyone could react. "Get me Admiral Tae-min," Hyun-woo ordered, his voice tight with tension. "Priority channel." The Admiral's weathered face appeared on the main screen within minutes. Tae-min had commanded the Imperial fleet for 20 years, fighting in 3 major wars and countless smaller conflicts. Nothing rattled him, except this. "Commander, I've been monitoring your reports," Tae-min said, his usual calm demeanor cracking slightly. "Are you certain about these readings?" "Yes, sir. 4 separate confirmations. Whatever this thing is, it's studying us." Tae-min was quiet for a long moment, his eyes distant. "In all my years of service, I've never seen anything like this. The speed alone defies every law of physics we know." "Orders, sir?" "Deploy our fastest pursuit ships. I want squadrons from the 7th Fleet positioned at jump points Alpha through Delta. If this thing shows up again, I want it surrounded." "What about first contact protocols?" Tae-min's expression hardened. "Commander, something that can move through our space like a ghost and scan our military installations isn't here for a friendly chat. Treat it as a potential threat." As the Admiral's image faded, Hyun-woo turned back to his crew. The command center buzzed with nervous energy as officers prepared for what might be their first encounter with a truly alien intelligence. "Sir," Hyun-ji called out, her voice sharp with excitement and fear. "Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, it's back." The holographic display erupted with data as the mysterious vessel materialized on their sensors. For a brief moment they could see it clearly, a sleek, silver ship unlike anything in their databases. Its hull seemed to shimmer with an inner, light and energy reading spiked beyond their instrument's ability to measure. "Attempting target lock," reported Weapons Officer Min Ho, sweat beading on his forehead. "Negative lock. It's like trying to grab smoke." The ship moved with impossible grace, sliding between their sensor beams like water through fingers. It completed a perfect circle around their station, scanning every inch of their defenses, then accelerated away at speeds that made their fastest ships look like crawling insects. The entire encounter lasted exactly 43 seconds. "Gone," Hyunji reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "Completely gone." Yunwoo stared at the empty space where the ship had been. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his communication panel. Whatever they had just encountered, it was beyond anything the Kethvar Empire had ever faced. The galaxy had just become a much more dangerous place. Captain So Young gripped the armrests of her command chair as her patrol fleet moved into formation around the Kepler mining colony. 3 weeks of chasing shadows had led to this moment. Her 6 warships formed a perfect net around the asteroid field, where the mysterious intruder had last been spotted. "All ships report ready, Captain," announced her communications officer, Lieutenant Jamin. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, their faces lit by the glow of tactical displays. "Remember, we want answers, not a fight," So Young said, though her hand rested near the weapons console. "But stay alert. This thing has made fools of our best pilots." The Kepler colony sat nestled between massive asteroids rich with rare metals. Thousands of miners worked the rocky surfaces, their lights twinkling like stars in the darkness. It was the perfect place for an ambush, lots of cover and civilian lives at stake. "Contact!" shouted Sensor Officer Hyojin. Bearing 187, moving through the asteroid field at impossible speed. On the main screen, a sleek silver ship appeared between 2 spinning rocks. It was smaller than So Young had expected, barely larger than their escort frigates. But something about it made her skin crawl. The hull seemed to bend light around it, creating a subtle shimmer that hurt to look at directly. "All ships surround and contain," So Young ordered. "Do not fire unless fired upon." Her fleet moved to surround the intruder, their massive engines lighting up the darkness. The alien ship simply floated there, as if watching them with invisible eyes. It showed no fear, no urgency, just calm observation. "Unknown vessel, you are in violation of Kethvar territorial space," So Young broadcast on all standard frequencies. "Identify yourself immediately or face the consequences." Silence stretched across the void. The only sounds on the bridge were the hum of life support and the nervous breathing of her crew. Then it spoke. The voice came through their speakers in ancient galactic trade language, a tongue So Young had studied in the academy but never heard spoken. The words were clear and precise, carrying an accent she couldn't place. "This is Captain Ji-hoon of the Terran Survey Corps," the voice said calmly. "We mean no harm to your people or your territory." So Young blinked in surprise. "Terran?" She whispered to her crew. "Has anyone heard of a Terran species?" Heads shook around the bridge. Their database contained records of over 300 spacefaring civilizations, but Terran wasn't among them. "Captain Ji-hoon," So Young replied carefully. "Your vessel has been conducting unauthorized scans of our military installations. Explain your presence in our space." "We are conducting a peaceful survey of this region," came the calm response. "Your installations were noted but not threatened." "Not threatened?" So Young's voice rose. "You've been avoiding our patrol ships for weeks, scanning our defenses and disappearing without explanation. That sounds like espionage to me." The alien ship, Terran ship, she corrected herself, remained perfectly still. Around it, her 6 warships bristled with weapons. Enough. Firepower to crack a moon in half. "We understand your concern," Ji-hoon replied. "However, our mission parameters do not allow for extended contact at this time." "That's not your choice to make," So Young snapped. "You're surrounded by the 7th Fleet. You're not going anywhere until we get some answers." What happened next would haunt So Young's dreams for years to come. Without warning, the Terran ship moved, not the gradual acceleration of normal spacecraft, but an instant transition from stillness to impossible speed. It slipped between her, ships like a fish through water, moving in ways that violated every law of physics she knew. "Fire warning shots," she shouted. "Disable that ship." Her weapons officer, Dongwoo, unleashed a coordinated barrage from all 6 vessels. Plasma cannons that could melt through battle armor fired in perfect synchronization. Energy beams capable of cutting asteroids in half lanced through space. Toward the small Terran ship, every single shot missed. The Terran vessel danced between the deadly beams like they were moving in slow motion. It spun and twisted with impossible grace, never once returning fire, never once showing aggression. It was like watching a master swordsman dodge the clumsy swings of children. "How is it doing that?" Yejin gasped, staring at her sensors in disbelief. All ships concentrated fire on Vector 77 Alpha, So-Young ordered desperately. This time, 3 of their shots connected directly with the Terran hull. So-Young held her breath, waiting for the explosion that would end this nightmare. Instead, the energy beams simply bounced off the ship's surface like raindrops hitting glass. The hull didn't even show scorch marks. Impossible, Dongwu whispered. Those shots should have vaporized it. The Terran ship completed its impossible dance and came to rest exactly where it had started, floating calmly between the asteroids, as if nothing had happened. Your weapons are noted but ineffective, Ji-hoon's voice came through their speakers, still perfectly calm. We will now continue our survey. Thank you for your cooperation. Wait, So-Young shouted. You can't just leave, we have questions. But the ship was already accelerating away, moving faster than their sensors could track. Within seconds it had vanished completely, leaving only empty space and 6 very shaken Kethvar crews. So-Young slumped back in her command chair, her mind reeling. In 30 seconds, everything she thought she knew about space combat had been turned upside down. They had just encountered a species with technology so advanced that her fleet's most powerful weapons were useless toys. Captain, Jaemin said, quietly, what do we report to command? So-Young stared at the empty space where the Terran ship had been. The truth, she said finally. We just met something that makes us look like cavemen throwing rocks at the stars. General Minho couldn't stop pacing. The polished floor of the war room reflected the holographic displays that surrounded him, casting eerie blue light across his weathered face. 27 years of military service had prepared him for many things, but not this. The massive chamber housed the Empire's greatest minds, scientists, tacticians, and intelligence experts, all working frantically to understand what they were facing. The air hummed with tension as data streams flowed across dozens of screens, each one telling the same impossible story. Show me the energy readings again, Minho commanded, stopping in front of the main display. Dr. Yejin, the Empire's leading physicist, manipulated the holographic data with shaking hands. The woman who had designed their most advanced weapons now looked terrified of her own discoveries. General, these numbers don't make sense, she said, her voice barely steady. The Terran ship's energy signature spiked to levels that should have melted its hull in microseconds. Our quantum generators can't even come close to this output. The hologram showed the moment Captain So-Young's fleet had engaged the mysterious vessel. Each weapon strike registered as direct hits, yet the energy simply vanished into the alien ship's hull like water into sand. It's not just absorption, Dr. Yejin continued, zooming in on specific readings. Their shields seem to convert our plasma bolts into pure energy and redistribute it throughout their ship's systems. They're using our attacks to power themselves. General Minho felt his blood turn cold. So you're saying they're feeding off our weapons? That's exactly what I'm saying, sir. Every shot we fired made them stronger. Across the room, Intelligence Officer Dong Hyun cleared his throat nervously. The young man had been working without sleep for 3 days, analyzing reports from across the galaxy. His usually perfect uniform was wrinkled, his eyes red with exhaustion. General, we have a bigger problem, Dong Hyun announced, activating his own holographic display. The Terran encounter wasn't isolated. The galaxy map expanded before them, showing the spiral arms of their home cluster. Red dots began appearing. Across the display, dozens of them scattered throughout known space. These are confirmed Terran sightings from the past month, Dong Hyun explained. They're not just in our territory, they're everywhere. Minho studied the pattern, his tactical mind working frantically. What are they doing at each location? The same thing they did to us, sir. Quick scans of military installations, defensive positions, and population centers. Then they disappear before local forces can respond. Dr. Yejin manipulated her display to overlay the sighting data with galactic political maps. General, look at this. They've visited every major spacefaring civilization, the Zephyrian Commonwealth, the Stellar Federation, even the warlike Crimson clans. How many ships are we talking about? Minho asked, though he dreaded the answer. Donghyun's fingers danced across his console, compiling data from intelligence networks across the galaxy. At least 50 confirmed vessels, sir. Possibly more. They're conducting a systematic survey of every military power in known space. The war room fell silent except for the hum of computers processing impossible data. Minho stared at the galactic map, each red dot representing a Terran ship studying civilizations like specimens in a laboratory. "Sir," whispered Dr. Yejin, "there's something else. The propulsion system they're using, we've never seen anything like it. They don't seem to use conventional engines at all." She brought up sensor recordings from the Kepler encounter, slowing them down to frame-by-frame analysis. The Terran ship moved through space without any visible thrust, no energy trails, no gravitational distortions. It's like they're rewriting the laws of physics as they go, she continued. They accelerate instantly, change direction without momentum, and disappear completely from our sensors. "Could it be some kind of dimensional technology?" Minho asked, grasping for any explanation that made sense. "That's our best guess, sir. They might be slipping in and out of normal space-time. It would explain how they appear and vanish so quickly." Intelligence Officer Dong Hyun activated another display, showing communication intercepts from across the galaxy. "General, we've been monitoring other civilizations' responses to these encounters. Everyone is reporting the same thing. Impossible technology, peaceful contact attempts, and complete military helplessness." The intercepted messages painted a terrifying picture. The mighty Zephyrian war fleets, known for conquering entire star systems, had been outmaneuvered by single Terran ships. The technologically advanced Stellar Federation couldn't even track them properly. Every major power in the galaxy was suddenly faced with the same humbling reality. "They're cataloging us," Minho realized with growing horror. "They're studying every military force, every weapon system, every defensive strategy we have." "But why?" Dr. Yejin asked. "If they wanted to conquer us, they could have done it already. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Dong Hyun pulled up the final piece of intelligence, a partially decoded transmission intercepted from Terran communications. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear enough. "Subject species evaluation in progress," he read aloud. "Military capabilities primitive but organized. Threat assessment minimal. Recommend continued observation before final classification." The war room fell deadly quiet. General Minho felt the weight of his entire civilization pressing down on his shoulders. They weren't dealing with invaders or conquerors. They were dealing with surveyors, being so advanced that entire galactic empires were nothing more than interesting specimens to be studied and classified. "How do we fight something like this?" whispered Dr. Yejin. Minho looked around the room at the greatest minds in the empire, all staring at him with the same desperate question in their eyes. For the first time in his long career, he had no answer. "We don't fight them," he said finally. "We pray they remain peaceful." General Minho stopped pacing and slammed his fist on the metal table. The sound echoed through the underground war, bunker like a gunshot. Around him, the Empire's best minds worked frantically at glowing computer screens, trying to make sense of data that shouldn't exist. "Run it again," he ordered, his voice tight with frustration. Dr. Yejin's fingers trembled as she activated the holographic replay. The woman had spent her entire career studying energy weapons, but now she looked like she was staring at magic instead of science. The hologram showed Captain So Young's encounter in perfect detail. 6 massive warships firing everything they had at a single small vessel. Plasma bolts that could melt through titanium armor simply bounced off the Terran hull like toy bullets hitting a brick wall. "The energy readings spike here," Dr. Yejin pointed to a section of the data stream. "When our weapons hit their shields, the power doesn't dissipate. It gets absorbed and redirected into their ship's systems." General Minho leaned closer, studying the impossible numbers. "You're telling me they used our own attacks to fuel their ship?" "That's exactly what happened, sir. Every shot we fired made them more powerful. It's like they turned our weapons into a charging station." Across the room, young Lieutenant Subin looked up from her analysis station. "General, there's more. Watch what happens when they accelerate." The hologram shifted to show the Terran ship's escape. One moment it hung motionless in space, the next it was gone. No gradual speed increase, no engine flare, no energy trail. Just instant movement that broke every law of physics. Where's the thrust signature? Minho demanded. There isn't one, Dr. Yejin replied weakly. They don't seem to use conventional propulsion at all. It's like they're manipulating space itself, folding it to move from point A to point B. Before Minho could process this information, intelligence, Officer Dong-hyun burst through the war room doors. The man's uniform was soaked with sweat, his eyes wide with panic. General, we have a galaxy-wide crisis, he announced, activating the main display screen. The holographic map of their galaxy appeared, spinning slowly in the center of the room. At first it looked normal, but then red dots began appearing across its spiral arms. Dozens of them scattered through every major star system. These are confirmed Terran contacts from the past 4 weeks, Dong-hyun explained, his voice shaking. They're not just in our space anymore. They're everywhere. Minho felt his blood turn to ice. Show me the details. Dong-hyun manipulated, the display zooming in on specific regions. The Zephyrian Commonwealth reported 3 encounters. The Andorian Trade Federation logged 7. Even the isolated rim worlds have spotted them. What are they doing in each location? The same thing they did to us, sir. Quick scans of military bases, population centers, and strategic resources. Then they vanish before anyone can react. Dr. Yejin pulled up communication intercepts from other civilizations. The hologram filled with desperate messages from fleet commanders across the galaxy, all reporting the same impossible encounters. Listen to this, she said, playing an audio file. This is from Admiral Krex of the Zephyrian Warfleet. The alien, voice crackled through their speakers, translated into their language by computer algorithms. Unknown vessel appeared in our most secure sector. Our entire battle group opened fire. Results: 0 damage to target. Repeat: 0 damage. Request immediate reinforcements. More messages followed. The technologically advanced Stellar Federation couldn't track the Terran ships. The warlike Crimson clans had lost 3 pursuit squadrons trying to corner a single vessel. Every major military power in the galaxy was reporting the same humiliating defeats. How many ships are we dealing with? Minho asked, though he dreaded the answer. Dong-hyun consulted his datapad. At least 50 confirmed vessels, sir, but the real number could be much higher. They appear and disappear so quickly that our detection methods are nearly useless. The general walked to the galaxy map, studying each red dot that represented a Terran encounter. A pattern was emerging. They were hitting every spacefaring civilization, cataloging every military asset, mapping every strategic location. They're not here to invade, he realized with growing horror. They're conducting a survey. A survey of what? Asked Dr. Yejin. Us. All of us. Every species, every military capability, every possible threat. Minho turned to face his team. We're being studied like laboratory specimens. Lieutenant Subin pulled up another display showing intercepted Terran communications. The translations were rough, but the meaning was clear enough to chill everyone in the room. Species classification, Kethvar Empire, she read aloud. Technology level, primitive. Military threat assessment, negligible. Recommend continued observation protocols. The war room fell silent except for the hum of computers and life support systems. Every person in the room understood what they were facing. A species so advanced that their entire civilization was considered barely worth noting. Sir, Dong-hyun whispered, what if this is just the beginning? What if they're preparing for something bigger? Minho stared at the galaxy map, each red dot representing a civilization that had been measured, catalogued, and found wanting. The E. Terrans moved through space like gods among insects, taking notes on creatures too primitive to understand their purpose. Deploy all remaining fleets to defensive positions around our core worlds, he ordered finally. And send a message to every allied species in our sector. Tell them we're facing something beyond our understanding. What kind of message, sir? General Minho looked around the room at faces filled with fear and confusion. For the first time in his long military career, he had to admit defeat before the battle had even begun. Tell them to pray that humanity remains peaceful, he said quietly. Because if they decide we're a threat, there's nothing in this galaxy that can stop them. Admiral Taemin stood in the command center of his flagship, the massive dreadnought, Imperial Thunder, watching his carefully planned ambush fall apart in real time. 6 months of preparation, 3 entire battle fleets and the Empire's most advanced experimental weapons, all useless against a single human vessel. Operation Starnet is a complete failure, sir, reported Captain Seok Jin over the communication. Link, his voice cracking with exhaustion. They saw through our trap like it was made of glass. The holographic display showed the aftermath of their latest attempt. 12 star systems had been rigged with hidden mines, cloaked ships, and gravity, wells designed to trap anything that moved faster than light. They had studied the humans' movement patterns for weeks, predicted their next survey route, and positioned their forces perfectly. The Terran ship had appeared exactly where they expected, scanned their trap in less than 10 seconds, then proceeded to dismantle their entire operation with casual efficiency. "Tell me what happened, Captain," Taemin ordered, though he dreaded hearing another impossible story. Seok Jin's image flickered on the main screen. The young officer looked like he had aged 10 years in the past hour. "Admiral, they didn't just avoid our trap. They turned it against us. The gravity wells we set up, they somehow reversed the polarity and used them to accelerate their ship. That's impossible. Our scientists said the technology doesn't exist. Sir, I watched it happen. The human ship flew straight into our gravity trap, and instead of being caught, it got launched forward at triple speed. Then they did something to our cloaked ships." Taemin felt his stomach clench. "What did they do?" "They made them visible, sir. All of them. Every single cloaked vessel in our fleet suddenly appeared on everyone's sensors. We lost our stealth advantage in seconds." The Admiral closed his eyes, trying to process yet another tactical impossibility. Their cloaking technology was the Empire's most closely guarded secret, developed over centuries of research. The idea that aliens could disable it with a casual gesture was beyond comprehension. "The mines," he asked weakly, "turned into fireworks, sir. They somehow made our own explosives detonate in perfect patterns like they were putting on a light show. No damage to their ship, but it destroyed most of our hidden weapon platforms." Captain Hae-won, commander of the 2nd Ambush Fleet, joined the communication from her position near the Rigel system. Her usually perfect composure was completely shattered. "Admiral, we need to call off these attacks," she said urgently. "My entire squadron fired everything we had at that ship for 3 straight minutes. Plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, even the new disruptor beams from the research division." "Results?" Taemin asked, though he already knew the answer. "Nothing. Less than nothing. The human ship just sat there and absorbed every shot like it was enjoying the light show. Then it did something that I still don't understand." "What happened, Captain?" Hae-won's voice dropped to a whisper. "It disabled every weapon system on every ship in my fleet without firing a single shot. One moment we're launching everything. We had the next moment all our weapons just stopped working." "Stopped working how?" "They shut down, sir. Not destroyed, not damaged. Just turned off like someone had flipped a switch on every ship simultaneously. Then the human vessel sent us a message." Taemin leaned forward. "What kind of message?" "It was in perfect Kethvar language, sir. The voice said, 'Your weapons have been temporarily disabled for your own safety. They will reactivate in 1 hour. Thank you for the demonstration.'" The command center fell silent except for the hum of electronics and life support. Admiral Taemin stared at the tactical display showing the positions of his scattered fleets, all of them defeated by technology they couldn't begin to understand. "Sir?" came the voice of Intelligence Officer Min Seo from her station. "We've been monitoring human communications during these encounters. I think you need to hear this." The main screen switched to display intercepted transmissions, translated by their best linguists. The casual tone of the human conversations made Taemin's blood run cold. "Survey vessel designation, Terra 7 to Terra Command," the first message read. "Local species continues testing primitive weapons systems. No threat detected. Military capability assessment, laughably inadequate. Recommend downgrading threat level to minimal." Another transmission followed. "Terra 12 to Survey Command. Kethvar Empire demonstrates typical behavior for emerging civilizations. They're trying to hurt us with what appears to be their most advanced technology. It's actually quite endearing." The final message was the worst. "All Terra vessels maintain peaceful protocols. These beings pose no danger to our mission. Continue cataloging their capabilities for the Xenobiology Division. They'll make an interesting case study in primitive, spacefaring species. Admiral Tamin slumped into his command chair, the weight of defeat crushing down on him. His entire career had been built on tactical superiority, on outthinking and outfighting the Empire's enemies. Now he faced beings who treated their greatest military efforts like a child's game. "Captain Seok Jin," he said quietly, "recall all. Pursuit fleets. Cease all offensive operations against human vessels." "Sir, are we surrendering?" Tamin looked around his command center at officers who had followed him through a dozen victorious campaigns. They all stared at him with the same question in their eyes. "How do you fight gods? We're not surrendering, Captain. We're accepting reality. The humans aren't our enemies. We're not even worthy of being their enemies. We're specimens in their laboratory, insects under their microscope." He activated the fleet-wide communication system, knowing that his next words would echo through military history as the moment the Kethvar Empire acknowledged its place in the universe. "All ships, all commands, this is Admiral Tamin. Effective immediately, human vessels are to be treated as neutral observers. Do not engage, do not pursue, do not interfere with their activities. We have learned that there are forces in this galaxy far beyond our understanding, and wisdom lies in recognizing when we are outmatched." As his fleets began their retreat to defensive positions, Tamin wondered what the humans would write about them in their final report. Would they even be worth mentioning, or would the Kethvar Empire be just another footnote in humanity's survey of primitive civilizations? The answer, he realized with growing dread, would come soon enough. Captain Haewon gripped her command chair as alarms screamed throughout the bridge of her flagship, the mighty dreadnought, Eternal Victory. Around her, the most powerful battle group in Kethvar history was dying without a single shot being fired. "Captain, all primary weapons are offline," shouted her weapons officer Jun-ho, panic creeping into his voice. "The plasma cannons won't respond. Torpedo tubes are sealed shut. Even our point defense systems are dead." The massive view screen showed the cause of their terror, a single human vessel, no larger than their escort frigates, floating peacefully. Among their formation of 12 capital ships, it wasn't attacking, wasn't threatening, just watching, like a scientist observing bacteria in a petri dish. "Engineering report," Haewon barked, trying to maintain order as her crew descended into chaos around her. Chief Engineer Yoon Seo's voice crackled over the intercom, filled with disbelief. "Captain, our main engines are shutting down on their own. I'm reading system failures across every deck, but the computers show everything as normal. It's like our own ship is turning against us." Through the bridge's massive windows, Haewon could see the other ships in her battle group suffering the same fate. The Thunder of Empire, a battle cruiser that had conquered 3 star systems, drifted helplessly as its lights flickered and died. The destroyer, Swift Justice, spun slowly out of control, its crew probably screaming at instruments that no longer obeyed their commands. "Life support?" Haewon asked, though she already knew the answer from the way the air was growing thin and cold. "Failing on all decks," reported her first officer, Min-jun. "We have maybe 20 minutes of breathable air left." The human ship moved closer, its hull shimmering with that impossible light that hurt to look at directly. No engines fired, no thrust vectors appeared on their sensors. It simply glided between their disabled vessels like a ghost made of metal and starlight. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Sungmi, her voice barely above a whisper. "Put it through," Haewon ordered, straightening her uniform despite the hopelessness of their situation. The voice that filled their bridge was calm, almost friendly. Captain Ji-hoon spoke in perfect Kethvar language, without any trace of accent or translation delay. "Kethvar vessels, you are experiencing temporary system failures as a safety precaution. Your ships will be restored to full function once our observation is complete. Please remain calm." "Observation," Haewon managed to choke out. "What are you observing?" "We are documenting the defensive capabilities and tactical responses of your species. Your battle group represents the pinnacle of Kethvar military technology, correct?" The question hit like a physical blow. Their battle group was indeed the Empire's finest. 12 ships with enough firepower to reduce a planet to ash, crewed by the most elite officers in the fleet. And this human vessel had disabled them all without effort. "Why are you doing this?" Haewon asked. We mean no harm, Ji-hoon replied. Our mission is purely scientific. We are cataloging the various civilizations in this region of the galaxy. Around the bridge, her crew stared at their dead instruments with growing terror. The temperature continued to drop as life support systems failed one by one. In the distance, she could see emergency lights flickering on other ships as their crews faced the same slow death. Please, Haewon said, abandoning military protocol entirely. My crew, they're dying. Your life support systems will be restored momentarily, came the calm reply. We do not wish to cause unnecessary suffering. As if responding to his words, the lights on her bridge suddenly blazed back to life. Fresh air flooded through the ventilation systems, and the familiar hum of healthy machinery returned. Around the fleet, the other ships were also coming back online, their crews probably weeping with relief. Your vessels are now fully operational, Ji-hoon announced. Thank you for your cooperation. We will now continue our survey. The human ship began to move away, but Haewon found herself shouting after it. Wait, what happens now? Are you going to invade? Conquer us? There was a pause, then what sounded almost like gentle laughter. Captain Haewon, your species poses no threat to us or our mission. You will be left in peace to develop as you see fit. Goodbye. The sleek vessel accelerated and vanished, leaving 12 powerful warships floating in space like toys abandoned by a child. Hours later, in the deepest bunker beneath the Imperial Palace, Emperor Kyung-ho listened to Haewon's report with growing dread. Around the conference table sat his greatest generals, admirals, and advisors, all wearing expressions of defeat. 12 ships, the Emperor said quietly. Our most powerful battle group disabled by a single alien vessel smaller than our escort frigates. Yes, Your Majesty, Haewon confirmed. They could have destroyed us all without effort. Instead, they chose to study us like specimens. Admiral Taimin, his face aged years in the past weeks, leaned forward. Your Majesty, we must face reality. Every engagement with these humans has ended the same way. We cannot fight them, cannot hide from them, cannot even understand their technology. The Emperor stood slowly, the weight of his empire's survival pressing down on his shoulders. For 800 years, the Kethvar Empire had expanded across the stars, conquering weaker species and claiming their worlds. Now they had encountered something that made them the weak ones. Issue the order, he said finally. Full withdrawal. From all border territories, recall every fleet to defensive positions around our core worlds. Your Majesty? General Won-shik asked in shock. We're abandoning half the Empire. We're surviving, the Emperor replied. If these humans wanted to destroy us, we'd already be dead. Our only hope is to avoid provoking them further. The orders went out within hours. Across dozens of star systems, Kethvar forces began the most humiliating retreat in their history. Outposts were abandoned, colonies evacuated, entire sectors surrendered without a fight. The mighty empire that had once stretched across a quarter of the galaxy now huddled around its homeworld like a frightened animal. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, Captain Ji-hoon of the Terran Survey Corps updated his mission log with the casual efficiency of a researcher cataloging insects. Species designation Kethvar Empire, he dictated to his ship's computer. Technology level, elementary steam and combustion propulsion with basic energy weapons. Military threat assessment, negligible. Territorial behavior, aggressive expansion. Typical of young civilizations. Recommendation, continued passive observation. Notable, species shows capacity for logical decision-making when faced with superior force. He paused, looking out at the stars through his ship's transparent hull. Somewhere in this vast galaxy, the Kethvar Empire was learning its place in the cosmic order. They would survive, grow wiser, perhaps even advance enough to one day join the community of truly spacefaring species, but that day was still centuries away. Survey log complete, Ji-hoon concluded, proceeding to next designated sector for continued galactic civilization mapping. The sleek Terran vessel turned toward the next cluster of stars, leaving behind an empire that would never again assume it was the most powerful force in the galaxy. The humans continued their methodical exploration, barely noticing the profound impact they had made on one of the galaxy's greatest powers. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Kyung-ho stared at the star maps, showing his shrunken domain, and wondered, What other surprises the universe held for those foolish enough to believe they ruled it. The end.